If you're somebody who experiences a rib flare and you've noticed that your ribs are stuck in that chronic flared state, you need to understand what is the root cause to this issue and how can you fix it. So what I'm going to be showing you today is what's causing this and a routine that you can follow to actually fix and correct this issue. One of the main causes of rib flare is initiated from this very common posture, which is where we have an anterior pelvic tilt, which is primarily caused from too much weight forwards, and then our rib cage and our spine needs to compensate by coming into extension. So when you're in this extended state, the ribs will naturally tend to flare open. So our pelvis is shooting downwards and then our ribs is shooting upwards. But something that's so important to understand is if these ribs are already flared up and we have a lot of compression in the mid to upper rib cage in the front and in the back, this is squeezing the rib cage together, so you can't actually expand those ribs as you inhale. Now you have to understand, well, the importance of the diaphragm. The diaphragm muscle is meant for us to breathe, but we have to access the diaphragm properly. So when you inhale, the diaphragm should be moving down, and then the belly will come out and the entire rib cage and the thorax will be expanding. Then as you exhale, the diaphragm will be moving up, and then everything will be coming together and getting smaller. That is an extremely important concept to understand, because what's really happening when we're stuck here is that these ribs are stuck in that chronic state of inhalation, which is external rotation, meaning your diaphragm is in a descended position. So you're really breathing through here and through the belly, which again isn't all bad, but we need to train the breath to breathe through the entire rib cage, pairing that with a stacked diaphragm and a stacked pelvic floor. So what we really need to do is adjust the pelvis, align that into that neutral pelvic alignment, and then bring those ribs down, and then train how to breathe through this way. So what we need to do is actually decompress the areas of the rib cage that are so compressed you can't actually access the breath there. And that's where I'm going to be showing you a fascia decompression technique in the rib cage to allow space to be created. So then we can use external force plus internal pressure to start decompressing the rib cage and the connective tissue so we can actually make long-lasting progress. Once we've accomplished this, then it's important to understand how to actually exhale fully, because you might not know how to actually exhale completely, and that might feel a little foreign. So I'm going to be showing you another position to decompress more in the belly, and then show you how to strengthen the exhalation, but also strengthen the rib cage to come down so that we can be in this proper alignment. I'm going to show you the full routine front to back that you can follow along so that you can finally rid your flare rib for good. For our first position and exercise, it's really simple. All you need is a rolled up towel. You can use something around just to hold it together and roll it up nice and tight. We're going to be using this on our rib cage for a form of fascia decompression while engaging the breath through the diaphragm to expand that rib cage. So the first position here is going to be on the upper side ribs, approximately in nipple height. But again, we don't want it too low. We want to be specifically working more in the mid to upper rib cage. And to get into this, all we're doing is starting on our side and then coming nice and slow down to the towel. You can bend your left elbow, rest your head in your hand, or you can keep your arm flat on the floor like this. And the first thing we want to do is start teaching you how to exhale fully, because once you understand that and you can engage these muscles properly, we can now start training the inhalation properly to decompress the rib cage. First thing I want you to do is to feel with your right hand on your lower ribs. I want you to exhale, but keep exhaling until you literally can't exhale anymore. Once you get to that end range, you're going to feel some core engagement. Hold that core engagement and lock it in place. Now, as you have that there, and again, you're not crunching really hard. I just want you to hold the rib cage down. I want you to initiate the breath, but feel your rib cage now expanding in all areas. So this is what this will look like. Exhale fully. End range, and now inhale. So with that example, I was locking those low ribs into that proper positioning while expanding the rib cage so that I can start to decompress. So we're using this external force from the towel, which is decompressing the tissue as we're doing this position, while also decompressing with the breath. So now let's do this again. Let's exhale, bring those ribs down, down, down. Feel that slight core engagement, lock that in place. Now, as you're holding that locked, inhale and feel that initiating more so from your rib cage. So once you've felt what it feels like to actually expand the rib cage with the inhalation, now we can start directing the breath where that towel is to those ribs that are very compressed and locked. So this is what this will look like. I'm going to exhale fully. And now as I inhale, I'm going to focus in that area. And you could probably see that that area was actually creating more space rather than my entire rib cage at once. Now, again, these are very small, minuscule movements, but you'll be able to feel the difference as you settle in. So what we want to do here is spend about 10 to 15 full breaths. You're going to be exhaling fully. That could be 5 to 6 seconds, and then inhaling for 4 to 5 counts. So as I exhale up and off, once you've done the left side, you're going to repeat that on the right side. You might feel that one side of the rib cage, may store a little bit more pain, or you might feel that it's harder to open up that space because you're more compressed. So if you feel that on a specific side, spend more time there. Maybe you want to spend 15 to 20 breaths rather than 10 to 15 breaths. Next position in exercise is going to be utilizing the rolled up towel again. And we're going to have this position just over top of our belly button or anywhere in the soft tissue of the core. Now, we're going to be getting directly into this position, but a main idea of this is to teach you again how to exhale fully, lock that into place as we protract the shoulder blades, and then breathe through those ribs more so in the upper and mid back, but also the entire upper rib cage. So when you're ready, let's nice and slowly get into this position. And then all I want you to do for the first couple breaths is just inhale, expand your belly in towards the towel. Try to feel your entire rib cage expanding as you inhale. It's really important to have a prop here so that we can have something to lean into. We need to feel what it's like to initiate that breath. And if you've watched my previous videos, I show this position a lot as a fascia decompression, but we're using this a little bit differently here. So expand and then exhale fully. So once you do a few breaths like that, what I want you to do is have your elbows directly under your shoulders. And first thing is to push the shoulder blades away. So this is bringing your shoulders into a slight protracted state. Now you don't have to go into a full protracted state, but I want them to be slightly protracted like this. And now once we're here and we feel that towel in our belly area, I want you to get to that exhale. And just like I showed in the previous position, exhale fully so that you're actually feeling some slight core engagement over top of the towel. Now, I can't feel it sinking in because I have core engagement. That's what you want to feel, but it doesn't have to be a really intense grip. So once we exhale like this and our shoulders are protracted, now I want you to take an inhalation and really focus on your mid to upper rib cage in the back expanding. And if you're doing this properly, you should start feeling the rib cage expanding as you inhale. This is such a critical concept because if we can't decompress the rib cage, then the rib flare won't really be able to reposition itself. So what I want you to do here is spend another 10 to 15 breaths. Now, if your shoulders get tired, you don't have to protract them as much, or you don't have to push as hard. You can also bring your elbows a little bit out further in front of you and then do it from this position. And this is what this will look like. Exhale fully. You can see how my body's changing. I have slight core engagement. My glutes are even engaged slightly. And now I am inhaling through the rib cage. The prop here is teaching us to engage that core. Keep those ribs down because they're in that opposite state. Now, when we're doing that, it's forcing us to breathe in different areas of the rib cage. So again, perform that about 10 to 15 breaths. and you're going to notice a massive change, and you might even notice a change after following this routine. For this last exercise, we're going to start bringing this all together without using the towel as a prop. So what I want you to do is lay flat on your back, but have your knees bent just like this. And now you might have a tendency to go into that anterior pelvic tilt. So what I want you to do is feel your pelvis rotating in the opposite direction. So your low back is actually going to be pushing more so into the floor. As soon as you do that, you're going to start feeling your core engage and those ribs will start to come down. Now bring your arms to your side, and then very slowly, as you bring the tongue to your roof of your mouth to help support the weight of the head and the neck, I want you to reach forwards like this. So we're not coming into a full crunch, but we're getting enough engagement here. So as we're pairing the more neutral posterior pelvic alignment and now the rib cage coming down, I want you to hold and lock this position in. Now, as you have this locked, I want you to start breathing just like how I taught you. Yes, you can feel the belly moving slightly, but I want you to feel the entire rib cage now expanding with that inhalation and then getting smaller with that exhalation. And now you might feel that it will feel a little bit easier having your arms in alignment with your thighs. So now you can reach a little bit more upwards like this and now take a couple breaths. This is changing the positioning of the scapula and opening up different spaces in the back. And as soon as I did that, I started feeling more releases in my back. And then exhale, come on down. So hold that for about 3 to 5 breaths. And then what you're going to be doing is taking a break because your neck, your core might get a little tired. You're going to take a break for about 30 seconds to a minute. Then I want you to repeat that 2 to 3 more times. So you're doing a total of about 3 to 4 sets. This is a very powerful routine that you can follow daily or at least a few times a week so that you can start noticing your rib flare is starting to go away. And you might notice that after the first time, but because we're all unique on how compressed we are and our postures, it might take more time for you or for certain people to start really seeing those changes. So now let's go over the full routine to follow. For the first position in exercise, we worked in the upper side ribs. So we started on that left side and we spent 10 to 15 breaths there. And then we worked on the right side, spending another 10 to 15 breaths. Remember, whatever side feels more compressed or harder to breathe and expand into, spend more time there, spend another 5 to 10 extra breaths. Now you can do this a couple times or even a few times, but I'm gonna leave that up to you. Next, we moved into that belly position. Now, as we are in the belly position, I taught you to bring those ribs down, protract the shoulder blades, and stay there for about 10 to 15 breaths, really breathing through the rib cage in the mid to upper back. So you can perform that again 2 to 3 rounds. Then we moved on to the exercise where we were laying on our back and we are really focusing on bringing this all together without using a prop. That's really important because that's mimicking more daily life. So that's teaching you how to brace the core, lock it in position, and then initiate the breath through the belly, but also primarily that rib cage. So again, stay there for about 3 to 5 breaths per initiation, and then relax for 30 seconds to a minute. Now perform that also 2 to 3 times, and that's really going to strengthen those ribs to come down so that you can again finally rid your rib flare. So this wraps up this routine and the video. If you felt that this is genuinely helping you fix your issues, let me know in the comments below. Again, the feedback is really important for me so that I can help create more content and videos for you. I'll see you in the next one.